About time for another Coach Life. I saw somebody else, they had a Coach Life channel. I think it's called Coach Life. I was like, damn. But it's new. So, and I think the dude is black. So I fully support it. I mean, if they were white, I would support it so long as they had the right vibes. What I'm saying is, seemed like he had the right vibes, so whatever. Wild day yesterday, wild week. There's a lot of energies around that I don't want to put a name, a title on it, but there's a lot of energy around that's bananas. So we had a game yesterday at the Kennedy Center, basketball game. For those who don't know, I'm coaching basketball again. I believe this was our 6th or 7th game. Anyways, the other team was all like a football, like they was all brolic. I was like, yo, we gotta start drug testing. And it was a very physical game, a very emotional game. And right before we left the school, I had a meeting with some leaders in education. I had a meeting about some things in education. The day before, I had a meeting with the leaders in education. And in the meeting, I'm talking about people who are very influential in this thing that we have here. And in the meeting, I jokingly at the end said, well, how about that nuclear fusion? Just to see, and some folks say, yeah, they were thinking about it, talking about it, but it was a joke. And this morning, as I was outside, getting myself geared up for the day, I thought, damn, the one thing that is a game changer, it changes everything. Renewable energy. Not just that, but just like such a breakthrough of this magnitude, it's kind of a joke. And why is it a joke? Why was I the one to bring it up? Why is it not whatever? Like, why don't we pivot when we have breakthroughs? And then I was processing it thinking, well, nuclear fusion, a lot of people don't understand it. It's not really that big of a deal for them. And it takes time for people to process. Like, you need to hear it from multiple people before you start to, like, most people won't believe something until they hear it from a lot of sources and yada, 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 which is good. But when you have this is an internet moment. This is, a car moment. This is a elevator moment. Like, this is a television moment. Anytime you have a technological breakthrough that changes everything, it should signal a collective pivot, is what I'm saying. And then I had to process and realize, okay, yeah, most of us, we're followers. Most of us get our information from multiple sources. A lot of those sources are hijacked at this point. So there's very little trust in the media, very little trust in social media, there's very little trust in our leadership. So it makes sense that it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But then I started to think about it from my perspective, because I'm around the leaders. The meeting that I brought it up at, it was the leaders. So I'm interested in seeing how that plays out. We have the holiday break coming up, and that's bringing up a lot of stuff for a lot of people, a lot of emotions, a lot of unresolved family stuff, a lot of debate. I'm already comfortable in the fact that I don't celebrate Christmas or whatever the holidays are, Valentine's, Halloween. I don't celebrate it. I respect it, and I do my own thing. But for example, for Christmas, the idea for most people, the collective response, people that I'm around, is to buy a lot of gifts, spend a lot of not even disposable income, to spend like emergency money on things to make people feel happy for a moment. And everybody knows that feeling. Christmas, I remember, like, you get this gift, you know, it costs someone an arm and a leg, you play for it for like 2 hours, and then you stuff your face with the food, and it's like, oh, family food, fun, all of that. And then you're sick from everything, and you just have to crash, and you wake up the next morning or whatever, and you stuff your face again and play the game or whatever it is that you got, and you feel happy for a little bit. But that type of living, it has its purpose, but once you evolve from it, you got to think, like, what's the point? Oh, the point is Christmas, right? Okay, so what is Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever the thing is, right? Okay, so what's the point? And then you'll see, oh yeah, this is some kind of religious experience. Am I having a religious experience? You know, people might go to church. They might, you know, the Christmas tree is supposed to symbolize something. I don't know if Jesus really wanted people going out cutting down trees just to hang artificial lights, put presents under. And don't get me started on Santa Claus. Wow, I don't know how we got, listen, do not put your kids on that. Yo, hey, listen, I'm gonna stay away from that one, but just be mindful of what you're doing. Okay, so yeah, it's somehow it's tied into religion. We gotta agree there, right? And even if you're non-religious or whatever, somehow it's tied into some kind of religious, spiritual experience, right? And then what's that about? Is it about the consumerism that we make it? Or is it about actually, you know, checking in and seeing, are we living what we are celebrating? It's not an easy thing to process, but it's important at this time, especially going into 2023, to really tap in with what your heart talking about. It's a feeling. It's not really, there's no real words yet. Like, it's not. But if you're putting a lot of energy in key moments collectively, like we're all agreeing to put our life forces into this thing, and it's not just the day, it's not just Christmas, not just New Year's. It's like the week's building up, the anxiety before the week building up, the mad dash to like remember who you love and care. Like, who do I care about enough to drop this last 20 on it? Or do I have to I got $200, like I got 20 people that I care about. How can I get $10 worth of, is that a real way to express love? For a lot of people, it works, and keep doing your thing. But for those of us who have to actually, you know, something happens to you in life where you go from being a child to a teenager, young adult, to an adult, and from an adult to a leader, mentor, educator. And I'm 41. I'm in the phase of, I don't have any kids. I have a lot of people that I've invested in their lives with my life force. So it's not the same as a kid. In a lot of ways, I feel like, this is a little hate disclaimer. In a lot of ways, I feel like kids are extensions of egos quite often. So, you know, most people, they just want to give their kids what they feel like they never had. Like, what are you talking about? You know, that doesn't even, I never had a dad, so I want to be a dad. It's like, okay, now you're the dad and the kid doesn't like you. Or you got the same, I've seen great parents do their best and the kids still, I've seen bad parents do their worst and the kids are angels. Like that's not it's not an ego thing. It shouldn't be. A lot of the parents I know do a great job. I'm just like, yo, I don't know how you do that. But I also see that a lot of parents just like when you put your kids on social media, man. Okay, this wasn't even what I wanted to talk about today for the coach life. So check it out. The holidays are tough. We got nuclear fusion. That was a few days ago. And then we got open AI. The implications of that are crazy. We had a situation earlier this year where a teacher, someone doctored an image with multiple, like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, this is AI. And nobody could understand what I was saying. But as soon as it had like swastika, blackface, Confederate flag. It was just like someone typed into OpenAI, make this picture as offensive as possible, and boom. And so there was like a hunt for who did it and yada yada yada. I did the victim of it. I did the entire all their circles to try to help the community heal from what happened and to process it. But in the back of my mind, I knew it was AI. And then I forgot about it. And then I was seeing the explosion of AI recently, and I was like, oh, had to have been, because now the public is interfacing with it. So we have nuclear fusion, AI, huge technological advances, I feel like I said some things that I probably shouldn't have said, but this is just the honest conversation, how it's happening. It's coach life, deal with it. Oh, right. Nuclear fusion, AI, holidays, so steroids. We played a team yesterday. I'm convinced they were on steroids. Nah, these kids are huge. I was like, yo, this isn't high school. Like, these kids are in college. Come on. I say all that to say we're in a very pressurized, intense moment where I believe we have two different realities dancing together. So there's the one it's really just like, keep it a buck. Most of the people that I'm around, it's love. We express it different ways. Some of us express love. My version of love is definitely more like a tough love type of thing. Like, I'm not gonna let you settle for being a poo-putz. Like, I want you, if you got dreams, them things are gonna eat you up if you don't pursue them anyways. So you might as well. And that's who I am. Like, your dreams, that's wherever. I don't care how silly it seems to somebody else. If you have a dream, I'm rocking with you. I'm trying to help you because I'm pursuing my dream still. It is what it is. People look at the 49th joint like, oh, you got 47. Actually, boom, we got like 52 followers now. What's up? Yeah, so I'm here to help people achieve their dreams. And in the process of like, most people think they want something really bad, and then once they get it, they realize, oh, that was just like a little, I want more. And I'm like, yeah, I know, let's go. And then they'll get that, and they're like, oh, so maybe I don't want one. And I'm like, yeah, I know, let's go. Like, there's so many layers and levels to it. It's not about the thing. The only reason you're comfortable enough to think it's about the thing is because you haven't pursued your dreams tough enough. Once you really pursue dreams, you start to realize, oh, it's not about the vision that I have in my mind achieving it. It really is what people say. It's about the process. So now I can pursue dreams knowing that I had a few things on my bucket list that I was like, yo, if I ever check these boxes, and guess what? I checked them. And you know what changed? Nothing. I didn't feel like I used to be like, yo, if I become a millionaire, and then one day I did the numbers and I was like, oh, that didn't change anything. I used to I mean, it's not that I was like a womanizer. It's just I love the feeling of being in love. Like I love the feeling of like, yo, like that chemical attraction and all of that. But what I had to realize after, having enough relationships that were just like, I was like, that seemed perfect to me and I don't know why it didn't work out, yada, yada, yada. I had to realize, this was like 2017, I realized it's like I didn't love myself enough. I was sitting here with a codependency that I didn't even know existed. Like you gotta love yourself first. And you would imagine I knew that 5-10 years ago, but I did not. So I'll never forget one night in Mexico City. Shout out to Francisco Goldman. He put me on, changed my life. I rented his apartment, 53. There's a video actually, Coachlife. I think it's called 53. Watch that. That's from Plaza Rio de Janeiro. That's the square where we was living in the street, 53. Anyways, I'll never forget one night I was out partying, went back to my spot with, I think I was with Gato and Bones and all of them. But anyways, it was just me and Gato talking. And I was laying on the floor listening to music that I never heard before. And I just started just tears, just hot tears, because I felt so good. I didn't know what it was about. And Gato was like, you're healing. And I realized I was finally I was in love with myself. I was like, yo, because I was like, the feeling of having the best time of your life and the dopest place with dope people is just indescribable. And I realized I did that. I was brave enough to be in Paris and see the post and respond to it and fly to Mexico and I brought flip-flops to Mexico City, thinking the only thing I knew about Mexico was the beach. That was in my mind. So Mexico City's 20 million people. You're it takes hours and hours and you gotta fly you're nowhere near the beach is my point. It's a bigger city than New York. Which reminds me, I was having a conversation yesterday about Africa, and we was talking about how what we perceive, because I remember the internet and the time before the internet. So we got all of our information from newspapers, which nobody read. I read it, but most people didn't, and television. And so what we knew about Africa as African Americans was from the television and movies, and all they showed us was people running around with spears, which is interesting because that's one of the more beautiful aspects if you understand the Maasai culture, but it's also a limited perspective because there's infrastructure in Africa that makes the United States look like a third world country, and I'll show you that. It's the second largest continent. So basically it's the largest continent, if you know the largest continent is. Anyways, there's just so much we didn't know. And so we were programmed to think a certain way. And that's the same thing I'm talking about in this entire coach life. It's about the programs that we carry and the process of deprogramming with new information. So we're all on an older system and there's a new system right now. So you gotta upgrade. Maybe you gotta you've been playing Sega Genesis and Nintendo long enough now. Now it's time there's this new thing, it's called the computer. Hop 2, nuclear fusion. Kinda changes everything. You might wanna do some research. All right, that's it for the Coach Life. I hope y'all have a wonderful, amazing, take time today If you watch this far, then I'm gonna drop a super gem on you. Take time today to remember that you really should love yourself the most. And self-love doesn't look like what most people imagine. It's unique to each individual. You know you best, but you gotta challenge yourself so that you really know who you are. Don't let your ego tell you who you are. Your ego will tell you, oh, I'm an elite basketball player. Your heart will tell you that you're an amazing person who cares, and that's not a weakness, that's a strength. When they say the meek shall inherit the earth, that biblical phrase, meek means humble but strong in your humility. Meek is like, oh, I don't need to be seen right now. I don't need everybody to feel my presence. I know what time it is. But in order for you to know what time it is, you got to test yourself. So, shout out to all those who are well-tested and willing to step up in this moment and guide those, even though they probably gonna hate you for it. As Coach says, salute the doers. Make sure you love yourself. Put that energy into, you know what I mean? I hope this ain't hot. Put that energy into self-love. I can't do my days without candles now. I can't. I feel like I'm naked in them streets. Anywho, Coach Life. Ciao.